Hi everyone, and welcome to Religion, Spirituality and the Transpersonal. And I'm just making this video as a kind of welcome to the course and an introduction to it. You've got what's written as an introduction as well, and hopefully they'll both complement each other. My name's Robin Weeks, and I'm the mentor for this course this time, so welcome. And I want to, first of all, talk about why there's really good reasons for being in a course like this and why there's very good reasons for a course like this to exist. If you have an interest and you're at Atlantic University, because you do, if you have an interest in the transpersonal psychology, transpersonal studies of various different kinds, then it seems to me that you have to recognize that there's been a human experiment, a human exploration of the transpersonal that's been happening for thousands of years. And the expression of that is the world's religions and spiritual traditions. And so in going into transpersonal studies, one would think that one would really have to examine this long history of the exploration of the transpersonal that exists in our own heritage and history. And so that's the reason for doing it. And the spiritual traditions are incredibly rich and incredibly deep. Now, we may have opinions and judgments about the world's religions when we talk specifically about religion, in the sense that there's the orthodox component of religions that has very much might be related to doctrine and to tradition, and you might even go as far as calling it dogma, creeds, that kind of thing, and that is not of much interest to the study of the transpersonal. It's a kind of a sort of an unquestioned belief structure that has a sort of mechanical element to it, from at least when seen from the outside, and therefore that's not particularly what we're interested in. We're interested in something that's more true, alive, and deeper than that. And that is why the focus of this course is not on the orthodox component of religions. Its focus is to start to delve into the esoteric component of the world's great spiritual traditions. So and to ask the question, what is the sort of living heart of these traditions? And is there a commonality amongst them, which we will explore? And so where is it that there's an alive and true exploration of the transpersonal, of the spiritual, of God, the divine, whatever one might want to call it, and that's where we're interested in. So this course then has a particular kind of focus, which is the course itself is this sort of, I would say, dizzying journey through, because in each spiritual tradition you could spend a lifetime studying it, a lifetime practicing it, and learning more and more, and go as deep as you could into it, and not really get to the end of it. And but we're going through 7 of them in 12 weeks. So it's from certain perspectives a little bit crazy, a little bit of insanity, but I think that when we do this course, you might find that there's also a certain kind of logic to it, some kind of that you might gain a certain kind of overview, a certain kind of holistic sense of religion, spirituality, and the transpersonal as it is expressed in this history of our exploration, humanity's exploration. And so that while we're not, certainly not plumbing the depths of any of the traditions, there might be a value in going through many of them in a short space of time. And you'll be the judge of that. But, my experience is that there is a certain kind of value which might actually be a surprise in doing this. So that's what we're doing. And by the way, I'm making these videos out here. I'm in Sedona, Arizona, where I live, and the relevance of it is that it's really my church. I'm out here in my church, and so religion, spirituality, and the transpersonal world, this is where I come to deepen my exploration of those domains, and to explore more deeply, and to find myself more deeply. So this is the relevance of a video coming from a certain kind of church to you. And I'm going to be making these kind of videos. I want to make these videos every week, at least one, to connect with you and to let you know who I am, and also to more deeply inform the course. So you'll have a personal connection with me, but you'll know who I am. But when I make these videos, I don't totally know what I'm going to say. I have some ideas, and so that there's a kind of an additional component that gets added to the course through making these videos, and it's kind of alive and in the moment, not something like cast in stone, as the Moodle version might be regarded to be, even though it gets changed every year to some degree. Just a bit about who I am. My name's Robin Weeks, and I, my PhD, originally was a scientist. My PhD is in geophysics, geological sciences. I studied the Earth's magnetic field for my PhD, and so I was very much involved in science. And then I started to have experiences of a different kind. And I left science to go and study religious studies at Naropa University in Boulder, which is a Buddhist-inspired university. But I studied I did a degree, a master's degree in what you might call comparative religion, but world religions. And it was life-changing, actually, the 2 years I spent there. And I'll probably talk more about that as we go. So I've been involved in an personal effort for me to reconcile science with spirituality for many years now, and but in the process I've come to be a great appreciator of the world's spiritual traditions, and less judgmental about them. Whereas when I started out, I was very judgmental about religious traditions. So and that's no longer true. Really, I'm really quite appreciative of them, and find them to be deep, rich, and amazing. And hopefully some of that will be communicated as we go through this course. So the organization of the course is, these courses used to be 14 weeks long. We had 7 traditions, so we did 2 weeks per tradition. They were shortened. We had to shorten to go to shorter semesters to 12 weeks. So some traditions are covered in 2 weeks and some in 1 week, and we sort of alternate between those. And every religion deserves a whole course of its own, and it's not going to get it. So we do what we can. But the basic idea is that we start out not exactly looking at the orthodox part of the tradition, but some aspects of it. So Houston Smith, his textbook, is going to try and relate to you from the sense of what the experience might be like of someone in it, the orthodox part of most of the traditions. And he's not like trying to go deep into esoteric or mystical parts of the tradition. So his is a very personal relating of what you might say is the more orthodox part of religions, and we start out with that because we have to have some background. And then the second portion, if there's 2 weeks to a tradition, then the second week we're going to go into the mystical part. And if it's just 1 week, then we'll try and cover all of it, the orthodox and the mystical, going from the orthodox into the mystical. And we do this, and we go into the mystical in a number of different ways, trying to get a different sort of angle on it, a different kind of hook into the mystical part of a tradition. And one way is to read its original text, the mystical texts of the tradition. And so you have another book by Zagano that has covered the subject of mysticism by trying to present representational texts from each tradition. And there's some introduction with some help on how you might read these texts. In many cases, the texts are quite inaccessible. They're quite difficult for someone from the outside to appreciate or understand, and the textbook gives some help. But in some cases, it's like the text is going to be tough. In some cases, not so. You might read a poem by Rumi or something like that and have quite some sense of access to it and impact from it. But some of the texts are going to be tough, but this is part of the experience, okay? The experience of that mystical tradition is these texts. So let's take a shot at the mystical text. Then there's the book that includes the stories of what we call the saints or enlightened people from each tradition, and the report of their experience. So what's it like to be someone who's considered to be a saint in this tradition? What was their experience like? And then finally, we're going to do a practice from each tradition. And so and the practice, I guess you could call all of the practices to be contemplative practices of various different kinds. But, and there's probably tens of thousands of practices that could have been chosen, and so I've picked out these practices, and we're going, and hopefully they land. They have some meaning to you. You have some experience while you're doing them, and the idea is that. So if we have 2 weeks on a tradition, the second week you'll be doing the practice every day, a short period of time every day, and then you'll be reporting on your experience with that practice at the end of that week. If we have 1 week on a tradition, like for example Buddhism, the second tradition that we'll study, then that first week that we do Buddhism, we'll also be doing a Buddhist practice. So the idea is to gain a sort of an intellectual and personal appreciation of the religion, and then an experiential one via these 3 different means of getting at it. And what I want to say is that, in this course, I haven't created a lot of essays to write, and because I'd rather focus on our relating to each other and our experience during the course. So I'd rather focus on the discussion boards and make them to perhaps give a little bit more emphasis than most courses would. So let's take the discussion boards deeper. Let's make them longer, more involved each week. Really report from your heart and your head on what your experience with these religions is. And what I want to say is, there's carte blanche here. If you're having a negative experience, you report it. Everything. We want to hear it. Your inner experience and your outer experience. This is what we want to hear in these reports. And the more you can sort of bring it in depth, thoughtfully, in depth, expressed well, then the richer and the deeper the course will be, and the richer and deeper the discussions will be. So the focus is on the discussion boards, and then of course the experience reports. I want to hear what your experience was with each practice. So that's where we're putting the emphasis on this course, and I'm looking for you to really put yourselves into the discussion boards, and to go an extra level with the discussion boards. I'd like to emphasize that. So the first two weeks of the course are going to be on Hinduism. So the first week we'll be looking at Houston Smith's view of Hinduism, a video of him, as well as you doing the reading, and then we'll be going into the second week, the experience of Hinduism, which will include a practice or practices that you're going to do. If you look ahead in the course, you might find videos from last year. I'm going to be making these videos fresh each week, and replacing them, and I'm going to stay a step or two ahead of you, but if you jump ahead a week or two, you'll find an older video, and that's fine. You can watch that and see what I say different this time, because almost certainly I will say something different. So I'm going to end this video. I might make another one because I don't want the video to be too long, and I also want to introduce Hinduism to you. You've got that in the writing in the course, but it'd be nice if I find the time to make a video introduction, I will. And I also want to say that I'm sort of here with you in this. I'm going to participate in the discussion. Hopefully, my plan is to participate in the practices too. So I'm going to be having my experiences. You're going to be having your experiences. We're going to exchange on this, and I think we're just going to have a lot of fun here. I hope that's true, and meaningful experience. I don't see how it couldn't be, really. So again, welcome to the course. I'm very happy that you're here with me. We're going through this together, and I'm looking forward to it, this time with you and getting to know you. And I'll see you in the next video, and when the course is going. Okay. Bye.